Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Prospectus series. So this episode is going to look at working in zoos and zoo management specifically. So you've decided you want to work in a zoo. First, before you decide what route or university options to take, you need to think, what is a zoo? Zoos are menageries, they can be breeding centres, they can be research institutions, educational facilities, and importantly a business. They can sometimes be for profit as well as being for a charitable aim or goal. Now, although there is certainly a pro and a con to working in zoos and having zoos full stop, that is a different topic for a different day and one that I will go into at one point. So in terms of back to how to get into zoos and how to work for a zoo, if you're a practical learner, so those of you who are from the level 1 or the level 2 route and thinking, how do I get into zoos? It's all about developing yourself, making yourself more of a rounded person. So if you're a practical learner, you've got to be thinking, how do I upskill? So upskilling, even though your academic career might have stopped, you still need to stand out. So that is all about getting different things that make you more distinct from the other people who are going for the jobs and being as employable as possible. So different qualifications that might be available for you. You might get qualified to drive different vehicles, ATVs, tractors, etc., or chemical licenses for herbicide and pesticides, or different handling experience, so AI and other type of pursuits. If you're a level 3 who just doesn't want to pursue university, then I would also recommend pursuing potentially the practical route, doing internships, but that can be available to level 1 through to level 3 and above. So also remember the zoo sector is highly competitive. So that means there's a lot more people wanting the job than there is necessarily jobs available. So you've got to stand out from this crowd, think about developing your skills, your experience and your qualifications. Now, these experiences can be gained from various sectors such as farms, zoos themselves, rescue centres, wildlife parks, studs, or other institutions. Now, the university route, types of university routes available to students. Now, if you wanted to be a zookeeper, you're either generally interested in either the conservation side of it or the behaviour side of it. Now, in terms of conservation, depending on what type of conservation you're interested in, whether it be working in situ or ex situ. If you want to work in an ex situ establishment, that's rehab centres, zoos and safari parks are definitely something that will be useful for you. If you're looking at in situ, this is where conservation really takes centre stage. It'll be more useful for you perhaps tuning back in on Friday at 3 o'clock, which will be when the next video goes up. So please do have a look then. Now, moving on to zookeepers versus zoologists. Now, this is a common problem, a common confusion. Now, a lot of you might think zoology is the key route to go if you're interested in working in zoos, but a lot of zoology is more about taxonomy, the understanding, the cataloguing and the identification of different animals. Now, you have to understand different animals, that's the same in both routes, but vast majority, it's all about the categorization of those animals. Bangor University does stand out slightly because they have a more detailed herpetology route. Now, this adds on a different route of experience and a different practical understanding of that animal. I will go into that in more detail in a later video, but that is something that is worth bearing in mind that zoology generally is more specific to taxonomy. Now, if you're looking at zookeepers, they're generally more practical, hands-on, practicing providing care for the animal, cleaning, maintenance of the enclosures, enrichment design, and it's all about applying your theoretical knowledge to the animal's wider welfare needs. So as with my other videos, my top 3 choices for your universities are, starting off with my first choice will be zoo biology at Nottingham Trent University at their Brackenhurst campus. So year 1, zoo animal husbandry, really going into how to handle the animal and the implications or effects on captivity on that species. So this will link more with modules such as animal behaviour and anatomy, which you also do in your first year, understanding how the animal behaves and how that links to how it presents behaviours. and more of an introduction into zoology, so understanding how this species has developed, got there, the diversity of those species or those genuses, and the diversity and ecology of the living world, effectively. So understanding how to manage the animal in year 2 and how to effectively promote better husbandry are primary focuses of the year 2 modules. It's also looking at elements such as breeding the animal and surrounding more the management of that reproductive cycle in zoos. So what you've got to think about from this point of view is how you how you're going to apply this to a wider context, and how you're going to apply this to the animal when you're working with it. So it's also about thinking about how the environment and behaviour impact each other, and how you're going to get the optimum welfare out of the animal, both feeding it right, using nutrition modules to bolster that knowledge, and also how you convey all this information about conservation, about nutrition, about behaviour to the public. So it's all interlinked all together, and then that educational element links to conservation, which then promotes better, more rounded general public towards those animals' needs. Now year 3 is an option. You have an optional placement year, but you've also got further development in year 4, so looking at zoo welfare, the animals' welfare in general. You can also pick optional modules such as anthrozoology, looking at the distinction between humans and animals and the links between them, the wider genetics of the animals in zoo conservation, genetics, or it's wildlife conservation with zoo biology at the University of Salford. Now year 1, you start off with basic genetics, gene and population dynamics, and looking at how the animals have evolved and changed and shaped over their time. But they link this with their field and lab studies, and really moulding the two together so you get a good categorization and good understanding of both field work and also a good understanding of how the taxonomy side will work in the lab. So you have a field biology and you have zoo biology, which are focusing on two different things but very interlinked together. They also look at global distribution of wildlife populations. So the principal factors, so the drive of the distribution of species of different communities, how they all interact and how they effectively make up that ecosystem that they all inhabit. And that can be varieties of species and varieties of environment. In their year 2, they look more at exploring more behavioural evolution and development of a species, thinking more about its native environment, how those behaviours might have been shaped or changed, and how you can sometimes replicate those environments in a captive setting, and really thinking about how their wild behavioural ecology and conservation of that species can be linked and promoted in the zoo and be used to educate the public and educate them on directions they can take. So there's zoo biology and conservation biology looking more at more practical applications of that. They do have optional modules, which gives you the opportunity to look at applications of ecology, but also selecting different environments, so things like marine conservation, ocean conservation, and so on. Those gives you the option to pick and choose between what environments you want to specialise in. Year 3 is far more varied. They have a plethora of different optional modules for you to choose from. So from types. Now final choice is Reaseheath Zoo. The zoo management, looking at year 1 is really focusing on conservation basics. So they're looking at how they conserve the animals in a captive setting, looking at reintroducing the species, captive animal management, and again, education and research activities that can be undertaken in zoos. Next module that they do is like a principles of animal disease, understanding the broad perspective of that disease, incorporating how major pathogens might affect a particular animal, so such as what you have with the mountain chicken frog, which is heavily impacted by a specific disease that's decimating the amphibian population. They also have animal husbandry and handling modules, which a lot of the other choices also have, but they have a zoo on site with a variety of different species where you can get up close personal and work with and handle a variety of different animals which you might not get at other campuses. Now their year 2 is split between the understanding and managing animals, so more modules that are focused at the core principles of the animal's welfare, the animal's behaviour, the animal's nutrition, and the wider health of that animal. And then more about working with that animal in a captive setting, so looking at captive breeding, looking at how the records are fundamental, how you're going to manage the zoo environment in an office, because you will have paperwork to do, you will have to understand that there's different breeding programs or regulations that you have to follow, and also veterinary procedures that you need to take into account. Now, from a student, she's going to walk through different elements of her university experience at Nottingham Trent University. Then there's going to be a zookeeper, so a current zookeeper, and other than this, I'd just like to...
Hello, my name's Molly Byford and I'm a first year student studying zoo biology at Nottingham Trent University. Prior to this, I studied level 3 animal management at college, and I never really considered going to uni or took it seriously until I sat down and weighed out the pros and cons. Then I just decided that maybe this is something that I wanted to do, and it wasn't actually until the UCAS deadline that I applied. Looking back, I do think it was the best decision for me, as I didn't realise how much I actually enjoyed being in education. I've always had a passion for animals and welfare, so to be able to develop this potentially into a career is something that's really exciting for me. During the term time, I live on campus, which is Brackenhurst campus, and this is where all the animal, rural and environmental sciences are taught. I do encourage you, considering Trent as one of your options, to visit the campus beforehand, as it is very different to other universities because it's so rural. However, this doesn't take away from the whole university experience, as you have a student union there and a bar, and there's a regular bus service that can take you into the city at any time anyway. So the course itself more focuses on exotic species. If this is something that doesn't interest you, or you want to focus on more domestic species, then I'd suggest looking at the animal biology route. However, the courses are very similar anyway, and it is quite often that you're mixed in lectures. So as I said, it focuses more on exotic species, but you focus on the scientific principles, but also look at management and conservation. I was worried coming from college that I would be lacking the knowledge required to be able to successfully get a degree in comparison to sixth form students. However, I soon realised that this isn't something to worry about, as first year is all about getting everyone on the same level, so you all have the same understanding and knowledge. But also I learnt that there are actually many advantages from coming from a college background. So for instance, a lot of people that I've met through university don't have any experiences with animals, like practical or handling or anything like that, whereas obviously you build up a lot of experience by going to college, especially working in the animal industry. Another thing is the development of assignment writing skills. As sixth form students, they come from courses which are just exam based. However, when you come to university, a lot of your modules and your overall grade is heavily weighted through assignment work. So having these skills is just so important and so beneficial. So if you are considering university, I definitely recommend holding on to any assignments, submissions or feedback to help you as like a template to build on. But that is something I'm definitely so grateful for coming from college. If you do have any other questions, feel free to contact me, or you can message Jordan, he can put you into contact with myself, and I'm happy to speak about the course in more depth or answer any questions you may have about living on Brackenhurst. But thank you for listening.
Hi guys, my name's Chris and I'm a zookeeper. So you've got a couple of questions you want me to answer. I'll try and summarise it as quickly as I can. So what inspired me to become a zookeeper? So probably the fact that I've always wanted to work with animals. You know, you don't work with animals unless you want to, but to help inspire me with that was probably watching David Attenborough programmes at a young age and growing up visiting local zoos, inspiring myself and learning all about the animals. Best part of the job, definitely the privilege of working with these amazing species, helping conservation, and amazing contribution to the world and what they can do. The worst part of the job is probably the pay. You know, it's not well paid, it is an animal job, and it is hard work, but also it's highly competitive. So everyone wants to get into industry. There's not many jobs and too many people wanting those jobs. So yeah, I hope that has helped.
So thank you for watching this video. The next video will be at conservation, and that will be at 3 o'clock this Friday. Thank you for watching. Bye.